everyone. You may be seated. So this afternoon on our trial docket, we have the matter of State v. Pike. If counsel, I know that there's a lot of attorneys involved in this case, could each just one by one stand up and introduce themselves for the record so that I have your names, and we can start with you.
Good afternoon. I am Janiyah Davis.
Ms. Davis?
Good afternoon. I am Shakana Brown.
Ms. Brown?
Good afternoon. I am Nyla Thompson.
Ms. Thompson?
Good afternoon. I am Shakira Williams.
Good afternoon. I'm Marissa Williams.
Good afternoon. I'm Reagan Wesley.
Good afternoon. And for the defense?
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Good afternoon, I'm David Smith.
Oh, sorry about that. I didn't realize we had 3 rows.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. I'm Jabbar Mannix.
Good afternoon. I'm Markia Toonwall. Good afternoon. I'm Samantha Aberdeen.
Good afternoon. My name is Dominique Perry.
Good afternoon. My name is Soraya Jackson.
Good afternoon. My name is Cherish Lewis.
Good afternoon. So, counsel, are we prepared to proceed with the prosecution's opening statement?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, Your Honor.
You may take your spot and proceed.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
May it please the court, Your Honor, opposing counsel, and members of the jury. Most 17-year-olds are preparing for prom, dances, graduation, dates, dorm room excitement, and preparing for the next stage of their life, adulthood. Instead of doing those things, 17-year-old Ronnie Bacalari is here to testify at her brother's murder trial and attended the sightseeing of her brother, her best friend, her only sibling, being dropped down 6 feet under because of Sam Pike, the defendant in this case. Even Bobby's dog was shocked by the death. A week after the funeral, Rags, the dog, died from a broken heart due to the fact that he was always around Bobby. But Bobby is gone now. Bobby was the man of the house. He was determined to get the bills paid and to make sure that his family had the best life possible. Bobby's father died 17 years prior. This made Bobby have to become a businessman and a great loyal friend. He loaned money to his friends in need, and even the defendant more frequently than others. You're going to hear that Bobby carried a gun, and that's normal. He's a male in the state of Georgia. Most people in the state of Georgia do. Bobby showed up to converse with his friend, the defendant. He was scared to load a gun, therefore he wasn't a big man. On January 26, 2013, Bobby, being the loving friend and family member that he is, had plans to take his little sister, Ronnie, to the concert that evening. He stopped to make a quick business stop with the defendant. Bobby trusted the defendant. Bobby's intention was to just have a conversation with Sam. So he came alone because, as stated, he trusted the defendant. The defendant here, as proven, is a liar, as he has lied to the police, friends, and he doesn't even pay his debts. Sam stated that he didn't have the money, but in previous text messages, Sam told Bobby that he would get his money one way or another. The defendant told Lieutenant Kane that he wasn't at the scene the night of the crime. However, Ronnie saw him there. Who is Lieutenant Kane, you may ask? Kane is the defendant on this case. Kane is the detective on this case. The one who was in charge of the forensic evidence that will be presented. You are going to hear evidence that proves the defendant and Bobby had an altercation earlier that evening, but by the time the murder happened, the altercation had already ended. Ronnie then saw the defendant pushing Bobby backwards until he went over the wall, and everyone heard a loud crack along with Bobby's hitting the ground. Bobby's body hitting the ground. Bobby's baby sister saw her brother plop down 9 floors, a sight she will never unsee. Trauma that is long-term and that will last forever. Thank you.
Thank you, counsel. Do we have an opening statement from the defense?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Counselor, you can proceed whenever you're ready.
May it please the court, the opposing counsel, and the members of the jury. We agree that Bobby Bacalari
was pushed off a 9-story parking garage ledge. But what we do not agree with is the rush to judgment that Sam Pike is responsible for it. Let me introduce you to Sam. Sam has always had a turbulent childhood, starting at the age of 13. At that young age, his father died, and as the oldest, he took the weight of his family onto his shoulders. And then, in the 11th grade, he had to drop out of high school so that he could get a job to help support his family. He never wanted to drop out of high school. In fact, he has plans to go back to school, to get his GED, and to someday go to college. But life has not always been kind to Sam, because his mother lost her job, and he knew he would have to take drastic measures in order to keep his family afloat. So he contacted the local loan shark, Bobby Bacalera. And even though he made that mistake, he made that decision to keep his family well and alive. But Sam is a loving, family-oriented person. Sam would never harm anyone without a great reason. A reason like having to fight for his life, to fight to get back to his sick mother. Fighting, struggling, but getting away, running away. And of course he made some mistakes, but everybody makes mistakes. And you're also going to hear from 2 other witnesses that will corroborate Sam's story. Kelly McNulty, a retired detective with years of experience observing people and identifying them. Years of experience, and yet the prosecution didn't call Kelly as a witness. We did. And you'll also hear from Leslie Kwan, the parking attendant that was there that night, with experience in his field, within his field. And he's the only one that can tell you when Bobby and Sam got there. The only one that can tell you how Bobby and Sam left, who all was there. But the prosecution will lead you to rely on Bobby's little brother, Ronnie. The same little brother that has admitted to having a fuzzy memory of the event. So I have 3 questions that I want you to remember. 1, whose memory of the event isn't foggy? 2, who isn't biased? And 3, who hasn't been targeting Sam this whole time? And these are questions that the prosecution will not answer. Thank you.
Thank you, counsel. Does the prosecution have any witnesses to call?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Do we want to take a brief break? Do you need a moment? No? Counselor, you can proceed.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
May you please state your name for the record?
My name is Ronnie Bacalari.
How old are you, Mr. Ronnie?
I am 17 years old.
Can you tell me who was Bobby to you?
Bobby was my older brother.
Okay. And do you see the defendant in the audience today?
Yes.
May you describe what the defendant is wearing today?
He's wearing a white button-down, brown pants, and brown dress shoes.
On the date of January 26, 2013, may you tell me your location?
I was in the parking garage.
May you explain why you were in the parking garage?
Well, Bobby told me that he was going to handle some quick business, but he never.
Can you expound more on the quick business?
He didn't go into detail. I'm sorry.
Who drove to the parking garage?
It was I.
Was there anyone on the parking garage with Bobby?
Yes, Sam was.
Can you describe what Sam was wearing that day?
He was wearing a thick jacket with his hoodie on and dark jeans.
Did you see an altercation happen between Sam and Bobby?
Yes, I did.
How far away from you were you from the parking garage?
10 feet.
And can you explain to me why you removed the vehicle from the parking gate?
Well, when I saw Bobby go over the edge, I just had to get out of there.
Did you ever run over to see if Bobby was okay?
Not that I recall.
Were there anyone else on the deck at the time Bobby and Sam was there?
No, not at all.
Did you see Sam leave the crime scene?
Yes, yes I did.
Thank you, Your Honor. I have no further questions.
Thank you, counsel. Do we have any cross-examination
Yes,
from the
Your Honor.
defense?
You were with Bobby the night he died, correct?
Yes,
And didn't you say that it was cold and dark that night?
yes I did.
And when they were arguing, you said that it was hard to see what they were fighting about.
Yes, yes I did.
And it's also true that you claim Sam ran past you and down the stairs, correct?
Correct.
And we can agree that you ducked down into the car.
Yes, I did.
So we can also agree that you didn't actually see Sam run past you.
Yes.
So isn't it true that it could have been someone else that ran past you?
Well, maybe.
And did you get out of the car that night?
No.
And how's that possible when your prints were found on the rail of the ledge?
I don't know.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness?
You may.
Could you read the underlying portions from 108 to 111?
I swear I don't remember getting out the car after Sam pushed Bobby over the wall, but the police detective says they found my fingerprint on the rail on the top of the garage wall. I have tried to remember what happened right after I heard the gunshot, then saw Bobby disappear over the wall, and have to admit that part was a little foggy.
Thank you. So we can agree that your memory was foggy.
Yes.
Thank you. No further questions, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you, counsel. You can step down, sir. Does the prosecution have any other witnesses to call at this time?
I would like to call Sean LaBeouf to the committee.
Okay. Sir, you can come up and take the witness stand.
Could you please state your name for the records?
Charlotte,
How did you know Bobby LaPerry?
Bobby, that was my brother for real. Everything we did it together.
Where did you meet Bobby?
I met Bobby back in my fighting days, back when I used to fight.
What was your work relationship with Bobby?
I was like his second in command.
In your statement, you stated that Bobby allowed you to do some work. What was the work he made you do?
So like when people wouldn't be paying his debt and paying the debt back to him, I go give them a little encouragement. You know what I'm saying?
Do you know Sam Pipe?
Yeah, I know Chad.
You stated that Sam Pipe was known around the community. What was she known for?
She was like a little drug dealer and all that type of stuff.
How was Sam and Bobby's work relationship?
So Sam needed money and all that, and Bobby just loaned it to him and he would pay it back.
Was Sam's past payments on time?
No, not at all.
Did you happen to hear or see Sam get aggressive with Bobby during their meetings?
Yeah, and then he also threatened him at one point.
What was the threat that Sam made before January 26th?
He said, one way or another, it's gonna end. Woo, woo, woo.
After this threat, why didn't you follow Bobby to the meeting?
He said he had it. We could do it on his own.
After you left Bobby's home, where did you go?
I went to the movie.
In your statement, you stated that Bobby did not like guns. Why was that?
So he also ain't like guns that was like too big for his hand. And then back in the day, his pops had died from his uncle shooting him.
Did you happen to have a repeater cycle of reloading his gun before you left his home?
That's true. That's correct.
Did you happen to reload the gun on January the 26th before you left?
Yeah.
What did Lieutenant Kane come to see where you were on January 26th?
Like it was like a Sunday or something like that.
Did you happen to show card history to show proof of your movie ticket purchase?
No, I use cash.
Thank you, Your Honor. I have no further questions.
Thank you, counsel. Do we have a cross-examination from the defense?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, counsel, you can proceed.
We can agree that you worked very closely with Bobby, yes?
Yes.
also agree that you accompanied Bobby to all his meetings, right?
Right.
Yet you claim you didn't attend Bobby's last meeting with Sam. But it is true that you already knew that Bobby and Sam were having a private meeting.
Yes.
It is also true that you were the only other person outside of Sam and Bobby who knew of this meeting.
Correct.
You attended a previous meeting between only you, Bobby, and Sam.
Yes.
It was at this meeting where you heard Sam claim they could handle Bobby if his crew wasn't around, right?
Correct.
Furthermore, is it true you knew Bobby wasn't good at handling guns?
That's correct.
So you always loaded his for him.
Correct.
So we can agree that you knew Bobby would be at the meeting alone with no backup.
Correct.
We can also agree that he had minimal protection and that you were aware.
I was aware.
And you claimed you were worried for Bobby,
I was.
yet you, his best friend, still let him go alone.
Correct.
And you claim you were at the movies during the night of the incident.
I was.
You also said the lieutenant lost your ticket stub,
He did.
but you cannot explain the beginning or the end of the movie.
Correct.
Furthermore, you were upset with Bobby for getting rough with your cousin Adrian, right?
I mean, you know what I'm saying? Business is business. It gotta get done this way.
You also said taking over Bobby's capital after his death could be the start of something big, right?
Correct.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you, counsel. This witness is excused. Do we have any further witnesses from the prosecution?
Yes, Your Honor. Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
May you state your name and your occupation for the record, please?
Lieutenant Walden Kane, Deputy Sheriff for Miltonville Sheriff's Department.
Does the Miltonville Sheriff Department cover the jurisdiction in which the alleged incident occurred?
Yes.
How long have you been employed with the Miltonville Sheriff Department?
16 years.
Thank you for your service, sir. Now, during those 16 years, what all capacities have you served in?
I started out on patrol, then worked vice and narcotics. Spent a couple years in homicide, and now I'm in science and forensics.
So, would you consider yourself a well-rounded and developed deputy?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let's shift gears. In this case, what capacity did you serve at?
I was the lead crime scene investigator.
Okay. January 26, 2013. Explain and elaborate to me about that day.
It was a dark and break night. I had just gotten up. I took a call. The city was busy thanks to the concert downtown, when another call sparked up. I responded to the Miltonville parking garage as soon as the 911 call came in at around 8:13 p.m. I started off at the main driveway of the garage, where there is a deceased male located on the driveway, just below the north end of the parking deck. It looked as if he was shot in the shoulder and fell from one of the floors. He had a relatively small amount of blood surrounding him, and as I went through the night tour, I stumbled upon a crime.
Pause. You mentioned a deceased man. Were you able to identify him?
I was
And who was he?
Bobby Bacalari.
Now, did Bobby show any sign of struggle?
Yes, he had scratches on his arms and what appeared to be skin under his nails.
And is it possible that Bobby could have scratched his own arms?
I highly doubt that skin would be his own.
Okay. Now, did you observe any evidence at the crime scene?
Yes.
And what all evidence did you collect?
A gun, shell casings, a cigarette butt, a Coke bottle, blood tracings, and a skull.
Your Honor, may I approach the opposing counsel?
You may.
May I approach, Your Honor?
You.
Now, Lieutenant, does this look familiar?
Yes, they do.
Now, let's take a second to look at Exhibit 4C and D. May you hold it up and show the jury for me, please? What do you see?
See a gun.
Do you know anything about this gun?
Yes, sir. It was a .32 caliber versus semi-automatic handgun. I was able to determine through ballistics that through ballistics testing at the end of the week, it's the
Objection, Your
exact
Honor.
same gun.
Your grounds?
Rule 51, the witness is not allowed to use notes.
Okay. I don't believe that, like written notes?
Yes.
Do you have written notes in front of you? No. Okay, objection overruled.
Continue.
Later in the week, that the exact same gun was used by a member as a across the tracks crew shooting several months ago.
Now, did you run a DNA fingerprint analysis on the handgun?
Yes, the fingerprints for the defendants, same type.
And do you have any relation with Sam Pike?
The department has been keeping an eye on him for the past few years.
And why is that?
Because we have been building a case on Pike as the leader of the local gang across the tracks crew.
Okay, hold on. Let's take a step back. You mentioned the handgun you ran ballistics on belonged to the across the track crew, correct?
Correct.
Just to specify, Lieutenant, is this the same gun that was mentioned in the situation prior that was used to shoot Bobby in the right shoulder?
Yes, sir, the same gun.
And you did mention that ballistics of the gun came back to across the tracks crew?
Correct.
And that the sheriff department was building a case against Pike as the leader of the across the tracks crew, correct?
Yes.
Based on all of the evidence that you have collected, you would say that it is a possibility that Sam could have had the weapon in his possession.
Correct.
Lieutenant, did you collect Sam's fingerprints when he were arrested?
I did.
And just to be sure,
Objection, Your Honor, leading.
Okay. Counsel, do you have a response, sir?
the fingerprints was collected off of the gun, correct?
Correct.
Okay. I'm going to overrule the objection for now.
Your Honor, may I approach the opposing counsel?
You may.
Your Honor, may I approach?
You may. Okay.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness?
Of course.
Your Honor, I tender evidence 5. I tender exhibits 5 and 2 evidence.
Okay. Is there any objection from the defense as to these exhibits being entered into evidence?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Exhibit 5 will be admitted.
Now,
They're both labeled
they're
Exhibit
both
5?
labeled as exhibit
Okay.
5, sir. Yes, sir. Now, looking at both of the fingerprint analysis, would you agree that the fingerprints are identical of Sam Pike?
I agree.
Thank you. Now, when you first interviewed Sam Pike, what did he say?
He got defensive right away. I asked where he was at 8 o'clock the night before, and he gave me some clock of mine line about watching a Lifetime movie or something. And I knew he was lying, and I asked him if he minded if I swabbed his hands for gunshot residue. Of course, he refused and quickly slipped his hands away.
Now, how did this statement change as the investigation proceeded?
Sam reiterated his story by saying, I was there, but I left before Bobby got tossed.
Is it true that you arrested Sam Pike for the murder of Bobby Bancalary.
That is true.
Okay. With your 16 years of experience, what does it usually mean when a suspect lies about their whereabouts?
The suspect in question is something to hide.
Thank you. No more questions, Your Honor.
Thank you, counsel. Do we have a cross-examination?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. You can proceed, counsel.
Isn't it true that you got to the crime scene first?
That's true.
When you arrived to the crime scene, you didn't secure the body, correct?
I did.
It was said in your statement that it was enough light for you to process the crime scene, correct?
Correct.
But we can agree that you still tried to process the crime scene, correct?
I did.
It is also correct that you left the crime scene for about 11 hours, correct?
Correct.
We can agree that you didn't leave an officer on the crime scene, correct?
That's correct.
So we can come to an agreement that the evidence may or could have possibly been tampered with, correct?
Possibly.
Didn't you say there were no eyewitnesses accounts other than Runny, correct?
That's correct.
You are aware that Runny had moved the car, but you didn't question her, right?
That's correct.
You said that you didn't see any additional evidence excluding Runny, correct?
That's correct.
But there was a cigarette butt with DNA from Sean LaBooth was at the crime scene, correct?
That's correct.
We can agree that you interviewed Sean LaBooth about his alibi, correct?
I did.
And you didn't say that you weren't sure if he gave you a ticket, correct?
No.
We can also agree that you didn't further investigate Sean LaBooth's alibi, correct?
That's correct.
It is also true that you didn't swab Sean for gun residue, even though his prints were on the bullet casing, correct?
That's correct.
Wasn't it you that arrested Sam Pike?
That's correct.
And we can agree that you took this arrestment before ballistics came in, correct?
Yeah.
And before DNA testing came in, correct?
Yeah.
So we can agree that you rushed to judgment and arrested Pike without proper evidence, correct?
That's correct.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you, counsel. You may step down, sir. Does the state have any additional witnesses to call at this time? Does the state rest its case?
Yes.
Okay. Does the defense have any witnesses to call?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
Hi, can you please state your name and occupation for the jury?
My name is Kelly McNulty, and I'm a retired observation detective.
And why did you retire, Ms. McNulty?
Because I suffered from a hip injury when I was caught in the middle of a raid, and my injury was starting to mess up my work ethic, so my former boss started requesting me to retire.
And where were you on the night of January 26, 2013?
I was at home.
Your Honor, let the record reflect that I am showing opposing counsel has been pre-marked as Exhibit 2.
Okay.
May I approach?
You may.
And may I approach you?
You may.
All right, and do you recognize this layout?
Yes.
All right, the defense tenders Exhibit 2 into evidence.
Is there any objection from the prosecution to Exhibit 2 being entered into evidence? Okay. 2 is admitted.
And may you please step down to the floor. And can you point out your apartment from the parking garage usually? And where's the parking garage?
Oh,
Thank you. So would you consider that your apartment is inside of a bird's eye view of the parking garage?
yes.
And what were you doing in your apartment that night?
I
was sitting in front of my window in my lounge chair.
Did you actually see Bobby at the parking garage that night?
Yes.
And can you elaborate on what you saw?
I saw Bobby pull to the top of the parking garage and get out of his car.
And was he meeting with someone?
Yes.
Did you happen to see who?
Yes, but I didn't get to see their face, but I know they looked fairly young, and they had on a black coat and a red shirt.
From which side of the parking garage did the client come from?
The north.
And what happened from there?
Objection, Your Honor. Rule number 51, use of notes. The witness is not permitted to use notes while testifying during the trial.
Okay. She does have an iPad up here, but I can see that it's actually doesn't have notes on the screen, and so I will overrule the objection.
Okay.
May I ask the question again?
What happened from there?
I saw Bobby get out of the car, and I saw someone come up from the north stairwell, and my grandson, whom I thought was asleep, woke up and was crying for a sippy cup of water, so I had to go to the kitchen to fix some water, and I heard shouting followed by a gunfire, and I made my way back to the window, and when I got to the window, I saw Bobby being pushed over the ledge.
And did you witness anything suspicious from there? After, I'm sorry.
I saw someone get out the passenger side of the car and go over to the ledge, and I guess they were, well, I'm knowing they were close to Bobby because 1, Bobby never came to a meeting alone, and 2, they seemed to be in distress, but I mean, anyone would be in distress seeing what they saw.
And was there anyone else that could have been at the scene, like, that you didn't see initially?
No.
And did you happen to see anything else?
No, after I saw the person go to the ledge, that was it.
Did you call the police?
No.
And did the police ever come around asking for your statement?
No. I had to call the police and give my statement.
And when did you call?
About a week after Bobby was killed or dead.
And did you take any evidence of the scene?
I took pictures from previous meetings.
And did the detectives take the photos?
Yes, but we didn't talk long. And to my surprise, Sam was already arrested.
May I approach the opposing counsel?
You may.
It's just the other one. And may I approach?
You can.
And may I approach?
You may.
Do you recognize these set of photographs?
Yes.
The defense tenders Exhibit 13 as evidence. And can you describe?
Hang on, before you go on, is there any objection to Exhibit 13 coming into evidence?
No.
Exhibit 13 is admitted. You can proceed.
All right, and can you describe these photos?
There are pictures from Bobby's previous meeting along with Sean.
And are these the photos you took?
Yes, sir.
No further questions.
Okay, thank you, counsel. Is there a cross-examination from the state?
Yes, there is, Your Honor.
Counsel, you can proceed.
Good afternoon, Ms. McNulty.
Good afternoon.
You claimed the night of January 26, 2013, you were able to see everything that night, but you were babysitting, correct?
Yes.
It was dark on January 26, 2013.
Yes.
You saw Bobby at the parking garage at 8 o'clock.
Yes.
Let's take a pause. You are a former cop, correct?
Yes.
We can agree that as a former cop, you are aware of the protocol of witnessing a crime?
Yes.
You saw the previous meetup Bobby had at the parking garage?
Correct.
You didn't report them?
No.
You saw a person on level 7 or 8 put on a red shirt and come back on the deck, correct?
No.
In your testimony, you stated you saw someone wear a dark parka with fake fur, a hood, and a red shirt, correct?
Yes, with the jacket not quite
You're certain the person you saw on the rooftop is the defendant?
No, not really, because the person that pushed him doesn't look like the defendant.
You didn't witness the altercation between Bobby and the defendant?
No.
You walked away after the defendant entered the rooftop, correct?
Yes.
Your Honor, may I get the witness to perform a presentation on the well?
She can step down, yeah.
May you face the jury? How many fingers do I have up?
I wouldn't know.
So we can assume that when you walked away, that you did not see any, if the defendant changed her outfit?
Yes.
Thank you. You weren't near the window when you heard a gunshot?
No.
Let's take a pause briefly. You took a picture of Bobby's previous meetings, correct?
Yes.
You took photos January 26, 2013.
Yes.
You saw the defendant push Bobby off the ledge.
Yes.
In your testimony, you stated that the person who pushed Bobby wore a hat, correct?
Yes.
In your statement, you stated that you have a bad hip, making it difficult to quickly get back to the window to see the crime occur, correct?
Yes.
So we can agree that you didn't witness if the defendant changed their clothing before pushing Bobby, correct?
Yes.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you, counsel. You can step down. Does the defense have any further witnesses to call?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. You can proceed, counsel.
Can you please state your name?
My name is Leslie Quan.
And what is your current occupation?
I work at the Miltonville Parking Garage.
How do you know Bobby Rockefeller?
Bobby is known as a local popular financier.
And how do you know Sam Pike?
Sam frequently comes into the parking garage.
On the night of January 26, 2013, what time did Bobby arrive at the parking garage?
Bobby arrived at 7:45 p.m.
And was Bobby alone?
No, he wasn't.
And what time did Sam arrive at the parking garage?
Sam arrived at 8 p.m.
And was Sam alone? Was Sam alone?
Yes, Sam was.
I forgot my evidence.
You can
May I grab it?
walk over, sure.
Thank you. May I approach the opposing counsel?
You may.
And may I approach?
You may.
And, do you recognize this?
Yes, I do.
And can you point out which way did Sam enter?
Sam entered from this stairwell over here,
And which stairwell is this one?
the south.
Thank you. And what did you witness during that time?
I heard the sound of a gunshot, and soon after that gunshot, I saw Bobby's body fall in front of my booth, and then later, when I went to inspect the body, I looked up and saw a figure standing over the top level, and then later I seen that figure disappear.
And did you call the police?
Yes, I did.
And did you happen to see Sam after the accident?
Yes, Sam was leaving out of the west exit.
Did you see anyone suspicious after the accident?
Yes, I saw a hokey figure walking around after the incident.
And did you happen to see which exit the hokey figure took?
The hokey figure took the north exit.
And do you know what happened to Bobby's car?
Bobby's car rushed out of the parking garage.
And can you identify who is driving?
No, I cannot.
No further questions.
Okay, thank you, counsel. Is there a cross-examination?
Hey, Mr. Cohen, how are you?
I'm good.
You are familiar with Sam Pike, correct?
Yes.
Mr. Pike was at the garage frequently, correct?
Yes, he was.
You stated that you knew him for your own good, right?
Yes. Back in my day in high school.
But you stated that you knew him for your own good, right? Just yes.
Yes.
We can agree that this means that you previously had some type of interaction with Mr. Pike, correct?
No, not like that.
You knew him for your own good, correct?
Yes.
So you had some type of interaction with him, correct?
No. I stayed out the way.
Okay. You were fully aware of Sam's criminal behavior, correct?
Yes.
You never reported the dangerous activities from Mr. Pike, correct?
Objection, under Rule 4-4, opposing counsel is not allowed to mention witnesses or the defendant's past under character evidence.
Okay. Counsel, what is your response?
Say it again.
She's basically saying that you're going into the witnesses or a person's prior bad acts, and that you're not allowed to mention a prior bad act unrelated to the acts that are charged in this case, just to show that someone is a bad person, essentially.
Okay, I didn't mention anything that he did. I just asked if he know about the dangerous activities.
Okay. Why do you want to talk about the dangerous activities?
Because Mr. Coin, he was at the garage. He knew Mr. Sam was a bad person, and he knew that he was doing bad stuff on his property, and he still didn't think anything to call any type of authorities to come look into it before it got to as serious to a murder.
Okay. I think that is an extremely good objection. I'm going to overrule it at this time and permit her a little bit of leeway to go into this.
Thank you, Your Honor. You are employed at the Miltonville parking garage, correct?
Yes, I am.
Do the cameras at this facility work effectively?
They work from time to time.
Let's refocus to the night of the murder of Bobby Bacalera, January 26, 2013. Your cameras didn't just magically start being effective that night, correct?
No, they weren't.
You heard gunshots before Bobby fell in front of you, correct?
Yes, I did.
Mr. Coin, we can all agree that gunshots have a very distinctive sound, right?
Yes, they do.
And isn't it true that they are dangerous?
Yes.
You were the only employee at the garage that night, correct?
Yes.
You have already told us that the cameras are faulty, right?
Yes.
You have stated that you tried to look at the camera screen after Mr. Bobby fell in front of your booth, correct?
No.
On your statement.
No.
Can I please?
Mm-hmm.
May I get the statement, please?
Leslie Coin.
You may.
May I approach?
You may. All right. Yes.
May you please read the underlined sentences from lines 65 through 67 out loud for the jury?
I looked at the camera screen but saw nothing, literally. As the selector moved to the next faulty camera, I heard shouting and echoes of the raw concrete, but not discernible words. Then something well, squished, real loud and sudden onto the driveway, right in front of my little booth.
Thank you. So I ask again, you then stated that you tried to look at the camera screen after Mr. Bobby fell in front of your booth, correct?
No, that was before the gun. That was once I heard the gunshot.
Okay. You also stated that you thought to call a retired injured officer, Mrs. McNulty, correct?
Yes,
We can agree that in times of danger, active authorities should be called, right?
yes,
You failed to call any law enforcement from the beginning of this murder to the end, correct?
no. I called the police and the ambulance.
Can I get that?
Sure.
Ma'am, please, Ms. Hilton.
Thank you.
Yeah. Your Honor, may I shut up?
You may.
May I approach, Your Honor?
You can. All right, and you can approach the witness.
May you please read out loud lines 94 through 99.
With that shocking me out of my own sensory overload, some measure of sanity returned. At first, I thought about calling to see if McNulty was at home, since she was the closest police of a fashion available since the Lil Nemesis T tribute concert had our Miltonville force stretched tighter than than one of the artist's musical streams. But then I realized I needed 911 and an ambulance.
You failed to call any law enforcement from the beginning of this murder till the end, correct?
No.
Okay, Your Honor, the witness is lying under oath.
Okay.
And he has lied on.
I will let you all raise that in your final argument if you feel that the witness is lacking in credibility.
Thank you. Final argument. Did y'all hear that? Thank you, Your Honor.
Sure.
After Bobby fell, you still did not call law enforcement. Do you have any eyesight issues, Mr. Corn?
No, I do not.
Objection, Your Honor. Relevance?
What is the relevance of his eyesight issues?
I wanted to know if he correctly saw the clothing of our client.
Okay, I think if she's using it to identify something, whether or not he has good eyesight is minimally relevant. So, counsel, do you have something to add?
Mr. Quan had already previously stated what Mr. Pike was wearing that night, so that's still not relevant.
Okay. I'm going to allow it, so objection overruled.
Again, I ask, do you have any eyesight issues, Mr. Quan?
No, I do not.
Okay, so let's backtrack to when Sam and Bobby arrived at the parking garage. Mr. Baccalari arrived at the parking garage, correct?
Yes,
And Mr. Pike arrived at the garage, correct?
yes,
You stated that Mr. Baccalari came into the garage via the passenger seat, correct?
yes,
You also stated that you saw Mr. Pike come in alone, right?
yes,
You had a clear view of what Mr. Pike had on when he arrived at the parking garage, right?
yes,
Because you had a clear view of Mr. Pike, we can agree that this means that you could identify his clothing, correct?
yes,
You then stated that when Mr. Pike was leaving, you saw a red flannel under the parker coat, correct?
yes,
We can agree that your description of Mr. Pike's clothing changed from the beginning of what you saw until the end, correct?
no,
It's what final argument's for.
Okay. You were so close to a murderer and a murder scene, correct?
yes,
You identified the murderer and failed to call any form of authority, Mr. Corn, correct?
no.
Thank you.
Thank you, counsel. Sir, you can step down. Thank you. Does the defense have any further witnesses to call?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, come on up. Counsel, you can proceed.
Good morning, Mr. Pike. Please state your full name for the record.
Good afternoon. My name is Sam Pike.
Okay, and how did you know the victim, Bobby, in this case?
I know Bobby because he's a notorious criminal here in Miltonville and also Salina County.
And why did you take loans from him?
My mother lost her job at the chicken plants when it shut down, and I'm the oldest of the household. So I really felt responsible to make sure we didn't lose our house. So I made a decision to take a loan out for Bobby.
Were you ever in debt with Bobby?
Yes, I was in debt to Bobby.
And what was being in debt with Bobby like?
Being in debt to Bobby was like selling your soul to the devil.
Did you ever try to pay the loan back to Bobby?
I tried to pay the loan back multiple times. He kept adding late fees and fines. It was never enough for Bobby.
Your Honor, can I approach the opposing counsel?
You can.
May I approach?
You may. All right, you can approach the witness, yes.
Okay. Do you recognize Exhibit 9?
Yes, this is the text message between me and Bobby.
Can you read the message between you and Bobby that was sent January 6, 2013?
Time to pay the pocket pipe. You have until tonight. That's all. Then I cannot help what Ronnie does. Dude, give me until Monday. Tonight, 8 o'clock, top of the Miltonville parking garage. Don't tell that Moran Corn what you were doing. You better not be late or short. Fine, but this is it, one way or another.
Okay. And did you go to meet Bobby that night at the parking garage?
Yes, I went to go meet Bobby.
Okay. What was the exact time you arrived?
I got there at 8 o'clock sharp. You do not want Bobby to look for you.
What was your exact location at the day?
I went up
On the day.
I went up the north stairwell to go meet Bobby.
How did you get to the top?
As I said, I went to the north stairwell to go meet him.
Okay. What did you see at the top of the day when you got up there?
I really couldn't see much since the lights were dimmed out, but I did see Bobby's car.
Did you see anybody up there?
I could tell there were two people in Bobby's car.
And how did the meeting with Bobby go?
As you know, terrible. I tried to beg and plead Bobby that you can give me one more week so I can finally pay off all my debts to him. He did not want to hear that. He ended up pulling the gun out of me.
And how did you feel or respond when the gun was being held to your face?
I was scared for my life.
Which staircase did you run down to?
Well, when he pulled the gun on me, he pressed it against my chest. We started fighting over the gun. When I got control of the gun, I threw it to the elevator shaft. And once I did that, I ran to the southwest exit.
Okay. Did you hear anything as you were leaving?
When I got to the southern stop staircase, I hit my knee pretty bad, and I had to stop for a second because I was in pain. I heard gunshots and someone saying something about a cousin and getting what they deserved.
Okay. Did you witness the aftermath of the argument?
Yes, I saw a person push Bobby off the ledge.
Where I left off at?
You left off at what I saw.
What details of the other person do you remember?
He was a big dude. He had on a bomber jacket, dark jeans, work boots on.
Okay. I want to take a moment to talk about your time at the station.
Well, once I got home from the accident, Lieutenant K came to take me to the station for questioning. I thought well, if I go voluntarily, I won't get into any trouble.
And why did you hide the fact that you went to the garage from the police?
I was full of emotions, and I was really scared that they would think it would be me.
Did you panic?
Yes, I did, man.
And what were you so afraid of?
I was afraid of not being able to go back to my sick mother or my family.
What made you believe Lieutenant Kane wanted to set you up?
That whole police department has a whole vendetta against me. I don't know what I did to them.
What
Really,
about?
Really, I think they should be going against the actual criminals.
Okay.
Objection. Conspiracy, Your Honor.
Conspiracy? Could you elaborate a little bit?
Mr. Sam doesn't have any proper evidence to assume that the Miltonville Police Department has a vendetta against him.
Do you have a response to that?
Mm-mm.
Not even a little bit. Okay. On that basis, I will sustain the objection, and you can ask your next question, Counsel.
Okay. What about Lieutenant Kane in particular?
He wasn't so friendly to me at all. Really, when it came to Lieutenant Kane, he was always down my neck.
Okay, thank you for your cooperation. No further questions, Your Honor.
Okay. Do we have a cross-examination?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Pike.
Good afternoon.
You were at the Miltonville parking garage, correct?
Correct?
On January 26, 2013, correct?
Correct.
At 8 p.m., correct?
Yes.
However, you stated that you were about your whereabouts, correct?
Can you put that question, please?
You stated that you were at home, correct?
When was this?
On January 26, 2013.
I did state that to Lieutenant Kane, but that was only reason because I was full of emotions.
So you admit to lying to Lieutenant Kane about your whereabouts, correct?
I do worry.
Let's take a second to talk about your relationship with Bobby. You mentioned he was a bad dude, didn't you?
He was notorious for being a dick, collective, as if.
Yet you still did business with him, despite that, correct?
I was desperate.
Yet you still, wait. Not only that, the business between you and Bobby was continuous, correct?
Incorrect.
We can agree that you and Bobby had an agreement to meet, correct?
Correct.
At the Miltonville parking garage
Yes.
at 8 p.m.
Yes.
on January 26, 2013.
Yes.
You were nervous about this meeting with Bobby?
I kind of was, yes.
Isn't it true that you didn't tell anyone you was going to meet with Bobby?
Yes.
So you were nervous about the meeting with Bobby,
Of course.
but you still didn't tell anyone you were going to meet with him.
I want to worry my family.
Let's take a step back. You said that you said that you got panicky and quickly stated that you weren't at the crime scene, correct?
Correct.
approach the opposing counsel?
You may.
May I approach?
You can. Thank you, counsel.
May I approach the witness?
Of course.
May you read the text messages from January 26, 2013 at 12:08 p.m.
Time to pay the pocket pipe. You have until tonight. That's all. Then I cannot help what Ronnie does. Dude, give me until Monday, tonight, 8 o'clock, top of the Miltonville parking garage. Don't tell them about around corner what you're doing. You better not be late or short. Fine, but this is it, one way or another.
On Exhibit 9, we see that Bobby requested to meet with you, correct?
Correct?
To pay him
Yes.
the money you owe, correct?
Yes.
I tender this exhibit into evidence.
Okay. Is there any objection or to this being admitted into evidence?
No, Your Honor.
Would you remind me of the exhibit number, counsel?
9.
Exhibit 9 is admitted.
Did you have all the money you owed Bobby,
No, do not.
but you still agreed to meet with Bobby?
Yes. The big give me certain time.
Even though you didn't have the money?
Yes.
To be clear, you weren't scared to meet with Bobby.
I wasn't scared, but I was anxious.
You threatened Bobby, correct?
No, I did not.
May I approach the witness?
You may.
May you read the last text that was sent on January 26, 2013 at 12:08 p.m.?
Fine, but this is it, one way or another.
And who sent that text?
I did.
Let's pause for a moment. In your statement, you said, and I quote, "The world's better without Bobby the world's better with Bobby out of it. Ain't nobody going to be crying over Bobby being dead." This is what you said, correct?
Correct.
Once again, you told Lieutenant Kane you weren't at the Miltonville parking garage, correct?
Correct.
The night of the murder.
Correct.
Isn't it true that your statement changed after forensic evidence came in?
It did.
Now let's take a step further. May I approach the opposing counsel?
You may.
May I approach?
Yes. Okay.
May I approach the witness?
Of course.
Does this gun look familiar to you?
Yes, it looks like the gun Bobby pointing at me.
This is the gun your fingerprints were found on, correct?
Correct.
So is it true that you pointed the gun with your fingerprints on it at Bobby
Correct.
on January 26, 2013?
Correct.
The same night Bobby was murdered.
Correct.
Thank you. No further questions.
Thank you, counsel. You can step down, sir. Does the defense have any further witnesses? No? Does the defense rest its case?
Yes, sir.
All right, so why don't we do this? Why don't we take about a 5-minute recess so that you all can talk strategy with closing arguments? And then we will resume after 5 minutes. Did you have a question for me, counsel? No? Okay, we're in recess. Thank you.
I should say everybody knew that. So overall, it's just about the distraction and we not really know how to
told you, not have to.
But I need to have something to say. I can't just say objection.
Yes, you can.
But then,
Where's my bag?
that did happen.
That's the point. It's in, I
That
literally
did
said
happen.
it.
That's in the
Y'all
statement.
did not said anything. You could have said anything. That would be. Oh Lord, have mercy.
My main thing is the fact that they,
Oh,
they
different.
had
I'm saying right now.
that's happened up there.
Ain't gonna front.
They were rich.
But they wasn't ready either, like, they was just as worse as us.
No,
They
they
was
are
ready.
constructive.
was ready.
That was
We
constructive.
don't,
This was not.
almost didn't recognize you, cleaning yourself up for summer, huh?
And I didn't know what to
You
object
doing
on.
any vacationing or anything?
I didn't know what to say.
Yeah.
You'll get over it. And
I'm surprised.
I didn't know what to object to.
It wasn't that already. Exhibit now.
Who's it being released from?
Yeah, I already gave this twice.
I was hoping.
Also, Lord, did you already put exhibit now? Did you put exhibit now in there already?
Yeah. Wait,
Y'all
put
should
it up.
just say yes. No, excuse me.
Ain't gonna lie, you probably should have said.
Yeah, you should say it's already.
Like, you could have said something.
Oh, you said that.
Right.
Yeah, I ain't saying what you're saying. Like,
You look at you.
No, I would be.
It's no stress, it's the fact that I'm gonna win. And then,
Samantha, if you want to win, you could at least say something whether I answer the same question 5 times.
I didn't know what to say.
5 times. You can't look to me. I'm about to
Let
first.
me go. We don't know, because I didn't know what to say.
I answered the question 5 times already.
And I didn't know that I could call repetitive. I knew argumentative without that. On that one. But I didn't know I could call repetitive.
Well, I got it straight. Look,
That's your fault. You should have done better. How about that?
tell me this. Why?
Oh.
What to say on this? You point the gun, correct? What the statement says? What the statement says? I point the gun at him.
I mean, what did you do?
Caleb finna die.
I was in the bad position anyway.
Oh, yeah. You were. First of all,
I blame her. I blame her. I blame her. I don't blame her. I blame
Don't worry, you going to jail. You going to jail. No. She didn't even do nothing. I did nothing wrong. Yeah, because she looking at you, because what you lying for? You can't. You want to know why you lying? You probably not call them. Don't worry. When the police come in here, you can, because you'll know what's up. I don't need one. I don't know what I need right now. Don't. That's it. Execution side is ready. Objection. Speaking with the jury. Objection, Your Honor. Your Honor. We need help on our side. We can't be playing with this boy is talking to the jury. Miss Katie. Hey. Me. Come see me.
right quick.
Yeah, exactly.
They're cheating. They're talking to the jury.
That's what I'm gonna tell. They
I
talking to the
can't,
jury.
I can't tell you anything.
No, they're talking to the jury. I'm sorry. You know what?
You
Y'all
already
stressing
pointed
me
out
out.
everybody.
Folks lying to me. Y'all letting them talk to the jury.
This is a kangaroo court.
I get a 30-minute break.
Yeah, this is a kangaroo court. All right, 5 minutes up. Come on. Recess over. Jameson, I can hear you and Janine.
Oh, shoot, the mic right there. Why they didn't mute me?
I do, yeah.
He is. Don't worry.
Lying under oath is already a crime itself.
Baby, don't worry.
They gonna lock Leslie up right on with his
Leslie,
hand.
both him and his homeboy. You know the
Ooh, wait to get this courtroom for real.
I'm going to sleep on that bitch. I got to find. What else he like?
He not about not talking to police.
What else? He said something about
And his clothing.
but I can't remember. He said
He said that he didn't say that the clothes were changed for the deed. But let me put it. Oh God, I need to. Who is this? We on Leslie, right? Leslie after phone now. I meant Leslie before Sean or after Sean?
Leslie's after
After Leslie, that's after family. Yeah, Kelly. Oh, we might be in the evidence. Check it out. Hey, y'all work
All right, folks. So I heard that during the course of our break that some members of the defense team were talking to jurors. Do we want to hold anyone in contempt
Yes,
right
I
now?
would like to.
Okay.
Tabari, speaking with this young man.
We'll forgive it as an accident.
Y'all been too gracious.
All right, folks. So we are moving on to closing argument. Let's begin with the state. Does the state have a closing?
Yes, sir.
All right. Counsel, you can proceed when you're ready.
Tough trial, huh? More or less. Well, let me make it easier for you, members of the jury, if I may, Judge. On January 26, 2013, Bobby Bacalari was headed to take his sister Ronnie on a mini Nemesis tea concert, but took a small detour to meet a friend about a simple business matter. During the meeting, he was shot in his right shoulder and pushed to his death 9 stories down from the Miltonville parking garage. His forearms scratched and scraped, his arms and legs twisted, and his scarf used for warmth that night now drenched in blood. The last person to see him alive was the defendant, Sam Pike, who pushed Ronnie after he refused to pay Bobby back the money he had previously loaned him. Oh, and the first person to see him dead after Sam pushed him was his poor sister, Ronnie Bacalari. The 17-year-old we saw get up here earlier and fight for her brother, she should be preparing for college at her upcoming semester at UGA. But instead, she is interrupted with the traumatic task of planning her brother's funeral. Ronnie and her adoptive mother are now left without the sole provider of their household and their furry companion Rags, who died of a broken heart. Bobby Bacalari was by no means a perfect man, but he did not deserve to die. He deserves to see Ronnie graduate this spring. Bobby deserved to see his little sister go off to college in the fall. But Bobby did not deserve to die because because the defendant didn't want to pay back the money that he loaned me. I know the evidence that was presented to you was a lot to remember, so let me refresh your memory. The defendant's fingerprints were found on the gun that was fired that chilling night. Consequentially, a gunshot wound was discovered in Bobby's shoulder when the first responders rolled his cold, dead body over. Esteemed members of the court, we have shown you the evidence of Sam Pike's threatening messages directed at Bobby 4 days prior to this incident, leading up to the tragic murder. These messages serve as a blanket indicator to these events that unfolded on January 26, 2013. Furthermore, Pike was untruthful when questioned by the police about his whereabouts on January 26th. He initially claimed to be at home watching a Lifetime movie and did not change his story until ballistics collected by Lieutenant Kane placed him at the scene. Please, permit me to stress the extent of the defendant's deception regarding this heinous murder. It wasn't just 1 week. It wasn't just 2 weeks. It wasn't even 3 weeks. It took the defendant a whole month to change his story and finally admit he was at the crime scene the day that Bobby Beccalari was pushed 9 floors down. Pike only confessed after forensic evidence conclusively placed him at the scene that night. You see, Sam Pike was in debt to Bobby and didn't want to pay him back. In their messages, the defendant made it crystal clear that their ongoing conflict that night would come to an end. We saw the implications in these exchanges that suggested Pike harbored intentions to harm Bobby when they met. Despite knowing he lacked the full amount of money he owed to Bobby, the defendant proceeded to attend the scheduled meeting on that fateful night because he knew he would be paying his victim with death. This demonstrates his willingness to confront Bobby even in the face of unresolved financial obligations without fear. Despite what the defense would try to tell you, that Sam was scared and feared for his life, would Sam go on an empty parking lot garage that night to meet someone he was scared of, alone? The defendant had one thing in mind that night: cold, calculated murder. He drove down the parking garage that night with no one because he wanted no witnesses. He met with Bobby with a whole lot of nerve and started to tussle with him when he demanded the money he owed. He grabbed that gun and shot Bobby in his right shoulder and pushed him 9 floors down. That is why he didn't call the police after he left the scene, and that is why he lied and said he was never there. That is what happened. The defense is going to try to tell you that Bobby's beloved friend and right-hand man, Sean LaBeouf, killed his friend with the malice intent of becoming personal man. Don't believe them. Sean always knew that Bobby was, and I quote, always in his corner. And that is exactly why Sean was watching a movie at a nearby theater when his friend that he respected asked him not to come. Don't let a cigarette butt on the garage that the two frequently visited tell you that Sean was there that night Bobby was killed. Only his sister's fingerprints were found on the ledge that night, which we can conclude from the defense's very own witness that was there because Ronnie McNulty, in shock, ran up to the ledge to see her brother on the ground. And who wouldn't have been grasping ahead of anything after seeing what Ronnie had just seen on January 26, 2013? Earlier in the opening statement, one of our defense lawyers asked you 3 questions. She asked, who had all the motive this whole time? She asked, who has bias? And she also asked, she said, who had a target on their back? I'm here to tell you that all the fingers point to Sam Pike, the defendant.
Thank you, Counselor. Do we have a closing argument from the defense?
Yes, we do, Your Honor.
Okay.
brutally murdered. But we still disagree with the prosecution's claims that Sam Pike was the one who did it. Now, they may have told you this, but that's untrue because they have yet to prove to you that Sam is guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. You heard from Ronnie Bacalari tonight, and he told you that he didn't drive the car, yet his fingerprints were found on the crime scene. Ronnie then openly admitted that he doesn't even remember getting out the car. Now, that scratches the question. What else doesn't Ronnie remember? Could he have forgotten who he saw? Could he have lied? Now we can't trust Ronnie because he doesn't even remember what happened that night. Furthermore, the behavior exhibited from Lieutenant Kane has been very biased and in more ways than one, unprofessional. For one, he left a crime scene exposed to be tampered with for 11 hours and acted on a personal vendetta against Sam, and then came to his house to arrest him days before the ballistic results had even come out. All of the above are demonstrations of both Lieutenant Kane's incompetence and reasonable doubt. The state has also led you to believe that Sean was innocent in all this. Both Sean's fingerprints and DNA were at the crime scene. Sean knew where Bobby was going to be, when he was going to be there, and who he was going to be there with. It's clear he had the upper hand in this situation. And it's no secret that Sean had a personal vendetta against Bobby because of the run-in Bobby had with Sean's cousin Adrian. As for the defense, Ms. McNulty has had years of experience, and now as a retired detective, she has used her skills to help with this case. Granted, she didn't see the whole thing, we know that for sure, but she did witness an important piece of this case. As for the parking garage attendant, Mr. Kwan has offered up physical descriptions of people he saw at the garage that night. Descriptions that do not fit Sam's. Yes, a tragic thing happened to Mr. Bacalari, and nobody deserves that. We admit that. But Sam should not go down for a crime that he did not commit. So it is crucial, members of the jury, that you take the time and evaluate everything that we have told you today in court and make the right decision. Thank you.
Thank you, counsel. And this concludes our trial. So one of the things I want to say is I spend most of my time with law school students, and you all did a bunch of stuff in that trial that is on par with some of our really good law school students, and so you should be really proud because I'm impressed, and I'm frankly surprised at how impressed I am. So I don't want to give you too much feedback because you all don't want to sit here and listen to me. But I wanted to tell you a couple things that I really, really liked because if you know what I liked, you might be able to use that and use it more effectively in the future. And so I did a terrible job at the beginning. I asked everyone's name and then I kind of stopped writing them down. So forgive me for missing the names. But what I will say is the detective examination from both sides I thought was really good. It was a really robust examination when you're going into like the full story as opposed to just jumping from little point to little point. You, my friend, your last question to the detective got him to admit, I don't remember the exact phrasing, but you were like, well, are you the worst detective ever? And he's like, yeah. Seize on that. I want you to perform that. Pause, look at the jury, say, did you hear what he just admitted to? Because that was an incredibly effective cross-examination, and the next step is to just get bigger on some of those great points you're making. You made wonderful objections. Your character objection was like spot on. It should have been sustained, and you fell into kind of a mock trial problem where the judge in a mock trial kind of just wanted to hear what happens next, but your leading and your character objection was excellent, as well as the lack of personal knowledge objection. I think that was the two of you. That was high-level evidence work, and so good on you for making those objections. You know, you're going to lose a lot of objections. Don't worry about that. That's the point. And so stand up, be strong, even if you're wrong and strong, right? But don't be fearful of making objections. The other thing that I wanted to point out was that you did an excellent job with the witness who you didn't think was testifying truthfully. And you did something that I think is really hard and took me a very long time to be able to do myself because I was insecure about things, is that you have to lug yourself back to your desk while everybody in the room is watching you, and you have to go through that whole statement, and you feel like the heat of like the lights, like everybody's looking at me right now, I gotta go through like 10 pages to find that. For whatever reason, it's hard to do that. It's hard to be secure enough and confident enough to do that. And what I'll tell you is it's also very effective with the jury, because the jury doesn't often blame the lawyer for having to do that. They'll blame the witness. That witness is making her walk back to the table, go through the transcript, find the line item, come on back. She tries to impeach him. She puts the statement down, and then 3 seconds later it happens all over again. And so it's really effective to show the jury, look at what this witness is making me do. I just want an answer to my question. I'm not a problem here. And then the last point is, I observed you all like in the breaks and saw you a little bit like during lunch, and you all have like these big personalities, and you're obviously enthusiastic about this stuff. Bring that into the courtroom. That authenticity, who you actually are as a person, will really help you in trial work. It really, really will. And so I'll just point out something that was like very subtle, like a very minor thing that shouldn't have mattered much to this trial, that made me think a witness was really honest. It was when I think you, sir, said, yeah, I go down there and I give these guys a little encouragement when they don't pay their loans. You know, superficially you think like that's gonna make someone think he's a bad guy, right? But I'm thinking like, well, dude's honest, right? Like, dude's telling me like it is. And so look for moments to be like real people. I'll leave it, one last thought. The statements were really, really good. Ma'am, you had that entire argument memorized. You used rhetorical questions. That was excellent. You did something that was wonderful where like you were building a rapport with the jury. Like you walked right up there and you weren't so worried about like saying everything that you had scripted out, but you were like being your authentic self. Your story was like, again, earlier I came in here and talked about like make sure you tell people enough information. That was a complete story, which led me to be able to track the entirety of the trial. So that was really great. I love like your personality. You did that thing when you had the big moment and it's like, so you admit that you lie and you got really big. You know, for audiences, this is hard. Like watching a trial is kind of hard. A murder case is kind of the best type of case because it's interesting. But after a while, you're just listening to people answer questions. And so definitely look for places to bring in your personality. I'll leave you with that. I think we're going to take a picture real quick, but like really well done, guys.
So who gives you? So who won too?
What's that?
So who is the judge in favor of?
Judges don't make that determination. You ask them. You ask them.
All right, very, very good. We're very proud. That was excellent. I hope you feel the difference between Monday, when you got here, and today, right? On another note, we hope to see you here in this building in 4 years. Okay? 4 years and a month. 4 years and a month. But who's counting? Professor Fairthorne, anything else?
No, I love watching you all develop and grow over this week, and really phenomenal job. I'm so impressed that people who are 17 years old are already working at the level you're working at. And I don't just mean the arguments and everything, I mean the way you organized and conducted your meetings and your teamwork together. That was just wonderful to watch. So keep going with that.
Great. So let's line up in front of the bench, and we'll get a good...
Who is the jury in favor?
Jury's been tampered with.
Who won?
I